In the quiet hum of the Earth's magnetic heart, we once found balance, direction, order. But something ancient has begun to stir, a silent shift deep within the molten veins of our planet, a movement so subtle, yet so catastrophic, it threatens to sever the compass of life itself. What happens when the Earth forgets where north is, when its poles drift like ghosts through space, unseen, unchallenged, and unstoppable? This is not a theory, not science fiction. This is a vessel in motion, and the crew is asleep. Tonight we crack open the hull, peer into the systems we've long taken for granted, and ask the question no one dares to speak aloud. Is Earth still under control, or have we already entered the free fall? Imagine the Earth not as a lifeless rock, but as a living vessel, a colossal ship, gliding silently through an invisible ocean of magnetism, cosmic radiation, and solar storms. For millennia, this ship has obeyed its instruments. The magnetic poles, north and south, have acted as the ship's twin compasses, not just for us, but for life itself. Birds that migrate by instinct, whales navigating through deep ocean currents, bees, ants, turtles, all guided by that unseen force. And us? We built empires using that compass. We crossed oceans. We mapped the skies. But now, something is wrong. The North Magnetic Pole is no longer stable. It races across the Arctic at a speed never seen before, leaving behind the slow, confused lag of the South. The compasses, once aligned, now argue. And when a ship's compass begins to spin wildly, the captain loses control. Imagine ships veering off course, cargo routes failing, airplanes drifting slightly, but enough to matter. And then, imagine nature itself losing its way. Migratory birds disappear from the skies, whales beach themselves en masse, navigation collapses. And we keep sailing, pretending nothing's wrong. But deep down, the ship is already lost at sea. A ship that sails the open sea isn't just about direction. It's also about pressure. The internal systems that hold the vessel together. Air tanks, fuel lines, hull compartments, all balanced, pressurized, reinforced. Now imagine one of those tanks shifts. The weight isn't even anymore. The hull groans. A seam rips open, slow at first, then sudden. That's Earth. Deep inside this ship, 2,900 kilometers beneath our feet, pressure from the core holds the mantle above like a pressurized boiler. Balanced, stable, contained. But the poles are more than navigation points. They are magnetic locks anchoring Earth's spinning core. And when the poles misalign, that magnetic lock begins to slip. The containment begins to leak, and pressure starts to escape through every weak point in the hull, or in Earth's case, the tectonic plates. Volcanoes erupt out of nowhere. Multiple fault lines tremble at once. Earthquakes echo like hammers on a failing hull. We think of Earth as solid, but in truth, she is hollowed with chambers of molten rage. And when her balance is broken, she doesn't whisper. She screams. The crust, our floor, our cities, our nations, begins to fracture. Like a ship cracking under its own weight, the Earth doesn't sink, it shakes itself apart. On every great vessel, be it a ship or an aircraft, the true danger lies in silence. Not the waves, not the wind, but the moment. The systems die. When the screens flicker, the radar goes blind, the engines go quiet, the lights out. Now imagine that, but on the scale of a planet, Earth's electromagnetic field, our invisible shield, does more than point compasses. It protects us from death raining down from the skies, solar radiation, cosmic rays, charged particles that burn without flame. But when the poles shift, the field weakens. When they misalign, the field fractures, and when they collapse, the shield is gone. The Earth becomes exposed, like a naked pilot in a storm of static. Satellites begin to fail, communication grids fall silent, power grids overload and blackout. Not because of war, not because of hackers, but because the planet's magnetic bloodstream is in cardiac arrest. Our digital world, navigation, defense, data, banking, even hospitals, all built on this unseen protection. When it collapses, we don't fall into the past. We fall below it, into chaos, into darkness, not because we ran out of power, but because the planet's operating system crashed, and no one has the password to reboot Earth. Imagine a colossal aircraft, the size of a world, gliding silently through space. It has no wings, but it soars. It has no pilot, but it flies with precision. Its balance is everything. And at the heart of that balance, gyroscopes. Every pilot knows the gyroscope is sacred. It tells you whether you're level, climbing or falling. It keeps you stable when everything else becomes chaos. Now imagine the gyroscope goes wild. That's what happens when Earth's magnetic poles misalign. When North magnetics shifts towards Siberia and South doesn't follow, our planet's natural gyroscope begins to spin off balance. The result, Earth's tilt starts to fluctuate just a few degrees, and the equator shifts, tropics slide, Arctic boundaries melt or freeze in unfamiliar places. Storms rise where there were none, deserts flood, rainforests dry, the jet streams meander like drunken snakes. It's not the climate changing, it's the cockpit going haywire. And if Earth's axis tilts too far, it's not just the seasons that change. The days shorten or stretch, the oceans swell in strange directions, the atmosphere shears, and gravity itself may feel uneven. Pilots call it a flat spin. When an aircraft spirals out of control, tumbling in air with no lift, no direction, and no escape, that is what Earth becomes. A 13,000-kilometer wide aircraft spiraling slowly into environmental madness. And we're strapped in, but there's no ejection seat. In a plane, the pressure inside the cabin is sacred. At 35,000 feet, outside air is death. If a window cracks, if a panel breaks, the pressure escapes, and with it, everything else. Now look beneath your feet. Earth has its own cabin pressure, a delicate balance between the molten core, the mantle, and the thin crust we walk on. This balance is stabilized in part by the alignment of the poles, magnetic and rotational. But when the magnetic poles shift asymmetrically, when one races forward and the other lags behind, that equilibrium starts to unravel. The internal pressure builds, the mantle tightens, fault lines stretch, subterranean forces search for weakness. And when the pressure finds a crack, it doesn't whisper, it erupts. We see volcanoes explode in clusters, earthquakes ripple across continents, tectonic plates grind and break, whole regions sink, others rise. This is not one eruption. It's a slow-motion planetary exhale. The Earth isn't just venting, it's breaking. And like a pressurized jet tearing apart mid-air, Earth's crust may fracture in ways we've never seen. One continent becomes three. Seas rush into valleys newly born. Fire meets water. Ash blots out the sky. And in this chaos, we realize we are passengers in a vessel too massive to repair, too fragile to ignore, and too proud to admit that we may have triggered it, or at the very least, failed to prepare. This is depressurization, the slow explosion of Earth. Every advanced aircraft has autopilot. It keeps altitude, regulates thrust, manages direction. The pilot trusts it because chaos without it is unthinkable. Now imagine Earth with its own planetary autopilot, the jet streams, ocean currents, the Hadley cells, monsoon patterns, trade winds, all part of an invisible orchestra, moving heat and cold, water and air, life and death across the globe. But now, imagine that orchestra goes off tempo. One player, the magnetic field, begins to fail, and the autopilot glitches. The result? The equatorial air no longer moves where it should. Rain doesn't fall where it once did. Storms gather without warning or vanish before arrival. The Gulf Stream slows, the Pacific jet stream fractures, El Niño and La Niña arrive together, then disappear for decades. Crops fail, harvests rot, famines emerge not from drought, but from chaos. And while satellites scramble to predict the next wave, nothing is certain, not seasons, not tides, not sunrise, because autopilot is gone, and with it, the balance Earth once knew. This is the silent horror of a world with no system to lean on, not because the sun changed, not because humans forgot, but because the core compass broke and the guiding field collapsed. And what happens to any craft, plane or planet when it loses its guidance, its pressure, its balance? It spirals, it shakes, and then it falls. We are not at the end, but we are approaching the threshold, the line between turbulence and catastrophe. So if Earth is our vessel, then now is the time to ask, have we been passengers too long when we should have been the crew?